Alrighty. What's up, Squirrely Outdoors? We're hopping on the live for like a half hour and then we're getting out of here. We're tying a nice little nymph attractor pattern. So I've got some pheasant tail in right now, and now I'm gonna go in with some peacock curl. Gonna go in with about 3 to 5 fibers. We'll just go with 3 here today. And now I'm just gonna bring this all the way forward so we can keep a nice smooth body. And we can just snap off. And now, I am gonna add some wire in. So I'm gonna use some silver wire here. This is, I believe this is uni wire. This is just their kind of medium size here. Maybe they're small. And now I'm just gonna wrap this up. Because I have wire on here, it's kind of a pain in the butt to actually use my rotary function. If you guys have any tips for doing that, but I've never really found a good way to do it. And I'm just gonna spin these up. And then after spinning them up, I can just bring it forward, and that'll create a nice little smooth, simple body. And I'll get up to about probably 3/4 of the way. And then after doing that, yeah, it's probably good. I'm gonna add my wing case and all that good stuff. So we'll reach back again to our favorite feather of all time, the good old pheasant tail. Just snap those off, really simple. And then I'll grab my good old pheasant tail. And you probably only need 5 fibers or so. And I'm just gonna lay them in. Probably upside down like this. Bring it back just a hair. Now we got that nice little wing case installed. I'm gonna cut these off because these butt ends can sometimes not snap too well. And then I'm gonna put down my dubbing. You can use a lot of different stuff. You can also just use hackle, like soft hackle. You can use all sorts of stuff. Today, I'm gonna make a nice little tractor pattern. So I'm gonna use this pink. This is from Hairline. This is like a Hendrickson blend, but it's a great little kind of reddish purple dubbing. I really like it. It's great for all sorts of stuff. How's it going, Patty Chip? And I am tying flies. I'm tying a kind of a variation of like a prince nymph almost. It's not really, that I know of, it's not a fly. It's just a general purpose attractor nymph for trout. Hopefully I'll be using it this spring. And now that I've got that in there, I'm gonna take my brush, my dubbing brush. This one's from Loon. A lot of other companies make these and they're really soft. This one's pretty, like, the bristles on it are really coarse, and both of them are nice, but when you're working with really like coarse dubbings, having a really rough brush can be really useful. Okay. Now, I don't love how that wing case is sitting right now. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab just a little bit more dubbing. I also don't like this dubbing body, or the stubbing head is a little bit not quite coarse as I want it. So I'm gonna grab just a pinch more, and I'm gonna grab a little bit more and just kind of work that wing case down just a little bit more. And then we will counter wrap our wire. So you got that, just like that. Bring that, yeah, that looks much better. Okay. And now I'm gonna take my wing case, kind of mess with it a little bit, make sure it's in a good little position. And then I'll bring this forward, cover that up. Cover that up nice and clean. And then I'm gonna take my wire and I'm gonna start counter wrapping. So go the opposite way that we went with our peacock curl, and just wrap right over that wing case. That'll really secure everything down and it'll make it way more durable. And now I'll go ahead and use my bad scissors, or my old scissors I should say, and we're just gonna cut that off nice and clean, and then we're gonna give it a wet finish, and then we'll get some UV resin on this bad boy. There we go. And now I'm gonna grab some UV resin. I tend to go in on the head with some Loon clear. This is just their flow. And then after I go in with that Loon clear on just like the head, I'll give that a little zap quick. And then I'm gonna go in with my really thick stuff and go over the wing case with that, and then I'll create a really nice shiny wing case. Just like that. Give it a zap. Turn this thing around, and there we have a nice little nymph ready to be fished. So this isn't a bead head, so it's not going to sink really well, so I would probably use this in a tandem rig with something a little heavier. You could either, dead drift a really heavy like woolly bugger kind of style fly, or just dead drift a bead head, a nice heavy bead head. And there we have it. Let's move on to something a little bit more fun. Let's go on to a Fire Hole 718. It's basically just a curved streamer hook. Could also be used for, big giant stoneflies. Probably not a number 4, but some a little smaller. I guess a number 4 you could use for like Montana stone or salmon flies and whatnot, but nice little streamer hook. And I'm not gonna use this pink thread. I'm gonna go in with my orange thread, and we're gonna start this bad boy off. Bring it pretty far, and then I'll cut this thing off, and I'm gonna grab my wire. Now for wire, I'm gonna use an ultra wire in gray. This is large wire, and this really is gonna be our main body. And all I'm gonna do is tie this in along the whole body, because we want this to be really smooth, because all this is gonna be is it's gonna be a thread body with just a hair of wire. That's all the main body is going to be for this fly, and this is going to be kind of a more traditional style streamer, kind of wet fly hybrid. So bring this back, and now at this point this is all secured in, and now I'm just gonna kind of try to make a little bit of a taper. We don't need too crazy of a taper, nothing crazy. We're not making any like traditional nymphs or anything where we need a really extreme taper. We just want just enough to make it look, you know, good. And this is 3/0, so it's pretty easy to do that. Unfortunately, my 3/0 is pretty dusty, so it doesn't look the greatest, but it should come out just fine. So now that I've got this, I'll bring this forward. I'm gonna do a half hitch, so I'm just gonna use my pointer or my pinky. It kind of depends on the size of the fly. For these though, usually your pointer is just fine. Make a half hitch, swing my vise around. And if you don't have a rotary vise, if you're, you know, tying and you don't have a rotary vise, that's perfectly fine. And now I'm just gonna kind of stretch it out to kind of keep it in place. Do kind of a nice initial cementing wrap. And then I'm just gonna bring it forward in pretty wide gaps, making sure it doesn't go anywhere. And we'll kind of slowly open those up just a hair as we go along. And then right about there, I'm gonna secure this down, and we're gonna helicopter it. And then we're gonna put down a little bulb of dubbing. So bring this back. 1, 2, 3 wraps in front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. And oh boy. Oh, that's fun. Don't we all love wire? Okay, and then you can either helicopter this. Or if you have like a pair of nippers or an old pair of scissors or something, you can definitely just do it with an old pair of scissors. I personally have these old pair of all-purpose scissors that I use, and I'll just kind of stretch it to make sure it's really nice and tight, and then there we go. And then I'll just kind of wind down back here, and then I am going to put a little bit of just thick UV resin on this just to make a nice little body. You don't really need to cover it super heavily or anything, just a little bit. And then I'll just put a little like line across the top, and then kind of wrap it all around, and that'll be enough. You want to still kind of have that texture of the wire showing through. You just want a little bit of that UV resin just to give some nice shine, and you know, it makes it more durable as well, obviously. And then from there, I'll keep shining this. That looks pretty good. And now I'm gonna grab my little bulb of dubbing. So I'm gonna use some hairline laser dub. It just makes a nice little, you know, kind of shaggy kind of a bulb, but you can use literally whatever. You know, if you wanted to go matchy-matchy, you could do orange or something. But I'm just using some white here. And I'm gonna grab a little bit more. And then after that, we're gonna grab our soft hackle. And you can use lots of stuff to soft hackle this. Obviously, you could use, you know, especially if you're going smaller, you can use partridge, you can use grouse, of course. You can use basically any feather will soft hackle. There's a lot of feathers out there that soft hackle beautifully. Today I'm going to be using the body of a pheasant, which works really well. It's got a nice little orange tinge to it, and it looks really good. But if you wanted to do something else, by all means do it, because you can do, you know, you can really variation on something like this a ton. So once I get this in place, this really is just to just prop that dubbing up. And I'm gonna grab my pheasant here. As I said, you know, it's pretty orange. And I'm just gonna grab a fun little feather. This, how would this look? This might be a little small. Yeah, it's gonna be a little small. We want, because this is kind of a fusion between a streamer and a soft hackle, we want these hackles to be pretty big on there. We don't want anything too small. We want these to be nice, robust, you know, a nice robust soft hackle. So this might be okay. Yeah, so we want a nice big soft hackle. This isn't a streamer, it's not mimicking bugs or anything. This really is kind of a streamer style soft hackle. So I'm just gonna go in with a nice big feather here. And yeah, all we're gonna do is we're just gonna grab this tip, bring it back, brush it all back. And now just cut off and make a little triangle, just like this. And then from there, I might go down a little bit more actually. And then from there, I'm just gonna tie this guy in. And now I'll just kind of ready this by brushing them all back. And then as I go around, I'll just constantly brush these back, really making sure. And obviously you don't go too sparse on this. This is, you know, a heavier kind of soft hackle, so you don't want to go sparse. You want to, you know, make it a pretty good heavy hackle all the way around. And then once I kind of get that in place, go ahead and take my scissors and just pop that off. And there we have it, a nice little soft hackle streamer kind of fly. I'll give this a quick whip finish. Just a 5-turn whip finish is completely fine for these, because then obviously we've already got UV resin on this, so I'll put on some thin UV resin onto the head of this fly. And loon flow really cracks really easy, so you do kind of want to let it sink in for just a little second, because otherwise this stuff cracks so easy. And then I'll just zap it quick. And there we have it. And this is a really great little fly. It works for obviously migratory species, salmon, steelhead, works for trout, and it also works really good for bass in smaller sizes, bluegill, all that good stuff. So it's a really good little fly. And I guess we'll tie one more of those, and then we can maybe tie something else, we'll see. Not getting much comment action today, are we? That's completely fine. So I'm gonna get another one in there. And once again, I'm using uni thread here. This is just some 3/0. in orange, of course, but you can use virtually any color you want. It really isn't a big deal. Whatever, you can tie these in a bunch of different colors, of course, and you know, pink is great, red is great. You know, you can kind of, if you use red thread and then use kind of like a green wire, and then use like a peacock kind of ice dub for the dubbing on this thing, it's like, it makes a great kind of royal soft hackle that looks really, really good. But anyway, got this orange here, and you can really size this up to whatever you want. You know, you make this like a size, you know, a size 12, and this is great for bluegill, for panfish. You know, obviously this is more of kind of like a salmon steelhead. A size 4 is better for salmon and steelhead, but this is also great bass fly. You know, I'm sure I could go pike fishing with this on my pike rod and be super successful. And also this is great for like tandem streamer rigs too, for that back kind of lightweight fly, because a lot of times, you know, you got all these big giant beadhead flies for pike and for brown trout and for bass and for smallmouth and all these things, and usually they're all really heavy in beadhead, and it's like sometimes you don't need a beadhead, sometimes you just need a really nice lightweight streamer. So this is a great kind of style of that, and it's also something that fish don't see every day, especially on those really, you know, kind of pressured waters. You know, a streamer that looks like this looks a lot more natural in terms of forage compared to, you know, the woolly bugger they see probably every day, or the turd under an indicator that pressured brown trout on the Colorado streams or the Montanan streams see every day. Yes sir, Godzilla, yes sir. And now all I'm gonna do, put that in the cradle. I just did a half hitch on there, and I'll make sure to kind of tighten this up, and then, whoops, I'm just gonna go in like this, and I'm gonna start pretty tight together. It doesn't need to be super tight, but tight, and then as we kind of move past that hook bend and stuff, I'm gonna start kind of going a little bit wider. It makes a cool little tapered look. And then about right there should be completely fine. And I don't love that. That'll be fine. Okay. And then just take my old thread out of that cradle, and then we can either helicopter or just use an old pair of scissors. That's what I tend to do. It tends to be a pretty clean way to cut off wires. Just use an old pair of scissors. Helicoptering is fine, but for a lot of wires, it can be really hard. Like, you might be helicoptering for like a really long time, and that really, I don't know, in my opinion, that kind of cuts down on the efficiency of how I tie these. And obviously I'm not super efficient in how I tie them. You know, I like to enjoy the experience and whatnot, but I think also things that I can do to kind of help me tie better is something I'll do. So like, obviously I don't throw away my scissors, right? So I've got an old pair of all-purpose Stalker Slicks here, and why not use them? You know, they're already dull. They would just probably, for a lot of people, they'd go in the trash, or they would whatever. You know, after you've sharpened them maybe once, they kind of, you know, they don't really work like they used to. So you may as well use them for good. This is a fly for fly fishing, and it's a fly for fly fishing and all. So this particular one is a soft hackle, which is kind of an old-timey style of fishing. This one isn't really, so they make really little soft hackles, and those are usually for trout. This is more of a salmon style soft hackle, or a steelhead style soft hackle, which are more for migratory species that came in either from the Great Lakes or from the ocean. And this is more towards like the streamer side of things, more so than like imitating aquatic species. And yeah, so this is more traditional, but a lot of people have kind of stopped using these and use more modern flies like like these kind of style flies, woolly buggers and things. But they work super well, and yeah, it's just a style of fly fishing. Okay, so making a nice little bulb of dubbing here, and after I get that kind of finished up, that doesn't look great. I don't know why on your side it kind of, my dubbing noodle kind of. Yeah, I live in the Midwest, so you can use them all over though. Okay, that doesn't look great, not gonna lie, but we're gonna live with it. Oh, England was the birthplace of fly fishing. Yeah, you guys got lots of cool species over there. Mostly, I believe you guys have a lot of like brown trout and char species, if I'm not mistaken. I think you guys got grayling as well. You guys might have some salmon species as well. But yeah, this is where these flies were first introduced for the most part. So, you know, you can definitely. Oh, I do definitely not expect donations. I have none of that set up. So, no, I'm just here for the fun of it. If you wanna help, just subscribe and like. That's all I need. I don't need any money. So now I'm using pheasant. You can use all sorts of things, and really for smaller soft tackles and things, you don't need anything, you know, crazy. You can just use partridge, you can use grouse, things like that. I'm using pheasant because it's got a really nice brown color, which for this, or like orange brown color, which for this looks really good, I think. But you can use all sorts of things, and really so many feathers will work so well. You know, most feathers will soft tackle really well. You know, that have really nice stiff, I don't know what you call these, barbules, I don't know, that have really nice stiff bristles to them. Usually soft tackle really well. So all I do is, before I kind of tie these in, I kind of brush them back, kind of make a nice little crease in there, and then as I wrap, I just continue to fold these over. And because this is more of a streamer style soft tackle, you don't need to worry about, you know, having too much of this. You want a lot of feather out in the fly, because you really want this to move some water, especially if you're fishing for more like cool water species like smallmouth, but even when you're fishing for salmon and stuff. How's it going, Squirrely? You're back, huh? And there we have it. There's another fly. We're gonna build up a little head on this, and we'll give this a quick whip finish, and then we can move on to another fly. Any requests? Otherwise, you can tie up whatever. Oh goodness, yeah. Yeah, when a feather touches my nose, I also sneeze a lot. Gotta just be kind of careful, you know. And then I'm just gonna hit this with some loon thin copper john. I can tie a copper john up. And because this loon resin, like, it chips a lot. Like, I've got a tube fly that I tied up right here that had this on, and it's just completely gone. It's all chipped up. So you really want to let the loon flow resin kind of sink in before you zap it. Otherwise, it just chips and it just doesn't work. So you kind of want to set it in, or let it sink in. There's that fly all finished up. Let's tie up a copper john, I guess. Let's go. I'm gonna go with a big copper john. I'm gonna go for more like a steelhead copper john. I tied that up in a YouTube short a little while ago, and I'm gonna start off with a size 8 nymph hook. You can use really whatever size you want. Now I'm gonna grab my bead box, and oh, what should we use today? We'll use white today. So I'm gonna use some white fire hole beads. These are 4mm, and these are tungsten, so they're gonna be really heavy. And I'm using just a standard kind of straight shank nymph hook here. I'm just gonna match this barb really quick, because these are from Umpqua. These are just like the Umpqua X or whatever they're called, and they have barbs on them, so I just will mash them quick. Some people love barbed hooks, some people don't, obviously. I, for one, have gotten a lot of hooks caught in my hand. Alrighty. And I guess I'm just gonna use this pink 6/0. I have this spooled up on my bobbin. We'll put this on. The Klinkhammer is a fly, yes. Klinkhammer is a style of dry fly. I don't have any, nope, I don't have any nearby, but Klinkhammer is a great little fly. Okay, so long shank hook. I've got a white tungsten bead in here, and you can do it a few different things. Traditionally, copper johns are tied with biots. I've got some biots up here, but I don't really tie them with biots anymore. If people like ask me to tie a copper john, I'll tie it with biots. But honestly, I use pheasant tail. Call me a pheasant tail abuser, I don't know, but I love pheasant tail. It makes a great little looking tail. And when I'm trying to mimic things that in this size range, you know, a size 8 hook, you really don't need those biots, and you can get a nice long tail and mimic stoneflies a lot better. So I do 2 clumps, almost like I'm tying with biots. Biots kind of annoy me, and I think they kind of just slow down the tying process. So all I do is I take a bundle of about 3, I'll put those in there, pop them in there. And then I'll grab another one, another little bunch. I use copper johns for trout for the most part. You can tie them up for, I don't have my steelhead box nearby right now. Or do I? No. Nope. But yeah, you can use them for steelhead. You can use them for trout. Other than that, I mean, you can use pretty much anything for bluegill. But mainly trout and steelhead are the 2 things that I use copper johns for. This one is more of a steelhead oriented copper john than a trout oriented, because it's a size 8. You know, it's more for an attractor pattern. But yep. And now we can use really whatever wire we want. You can make a black one. Black ones look really cool. I'm gonna go with a white one, kind of match this vibe. So I'm gonna go with this. This is ultra wire in gray. It's large. Stick that right in the bead. That'll kind of help it stop from wobbling as well. And then from there, bring this down. And some people really like a really thin body. Some people are like a really big body, or really, you know, a thick body. I honestly, for most times, I like a bigger body. I don't think a thin body for most things actually matters. Like, if you're trying to mimic a mayfly in particular, I think that a thin body can be important, but especially for stoneflies, like I've gotten criticized for having too thick of bodies in the past, and I think it's dumb. Like, I tie them thick because in general, this is a stonefly pattern for me. This isn't a mayfly pattern. It's either a stonefly pattern or it's an attractor pattern. And personally, I don't think that it really matters. So anyway, I'm gonna give this a half hitch, really quick, really simple half hitch. Bring it over, and I'm gonna use the rotary function. Obviously, if you don't have a rotary vise, that's fine. Just use whatever you got. You can just spin it up like normal. And then I'm just gonna quickly put this in this little slot so it doesn't go sliding around all the time. And theoretically, we want a perfectly symmetrical body. Does that happen all the time? No, it's completely fine. The fish don't care, but you guys do, so I'll try to make it at least nice looking-ish. I didn't get a great taper on here, did I? So I'll bring it up most of the way up. I'll leave just a little bit. I have a Renzetti Traveler. Do you want me to sub to your channel, Liam? I'll sub to your channel in a second. Once I get off the stream, I'll go sub. But yeah, this is a Renzetti Traveler. It's a great vise. They're not cheap. They're about, what are they, $220, something like that for the model that I have. They have some more expensive ones, but honestly, this is the base model, or it's the oldest model, whatever. It works just as well. The only difference between this and the other ones is aesthetics. It's nothing actually functional, I do not believe, at least. Yeah. So now you can do a few different things. A lot of people do a couple different things. I'm gonna go with what I prefer, which is we're gonna start off with some tinsel, if I have any. If I can't find any, I've got kind of a messy desk right now, I'm not gonna lie. I was just tying some streamer patterns, some musky flies, and I'm a little disoriented. If I can't find any of that, I'll just use some yeah, this will work. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of tinsel. I'm gonna use some chartreuse here, and I'm just gonna tie this in the very top. This is kind of a pain when you keep it on the spool. Sometimes I'll cut it off, sometimes I won't. I guess just for the ease of you guys watching, I'll cut this off. And people do all sorts of things. They use biots, they use a pheasant tail, they use all sorts of stuff. Though I have a hatred for biots, I do oftentimes resort to using biots. I'll use those today. So I'm gonna use these brown biots. These are just like, this is just like a standard nymph brown. Alrighty. Well, let me write down your channel name, Liam. I'll sub. I'll forget otherwise. Okay. And then I'll grab a post-it note right now. Okay. So, I've got a biot here. I've got a brown biot. This is just a nymph brown biot. There we go. And this is going to be kind of the base for the wing case. It's not going to really show up that much. It's mostly just kind of a solid dark brown base to kind of make that biot, or that wing case kind of show up. And now you can do a few different things. So traditionally you'd use some of this right here. This is peacock curl, which is just the, basically just feathers off of a peacock eye. So the classic peacock eye. In this case, I'm going to be using some ice dubbing. I really like this bloody black, one of my favorite dubbing colors of all time. That and probably like a peacock, either a peacock eye or just peacock ice dubbing are my two favorite ice dubbings of all time. All I'm gonna do, make a nice big dubbing noodle on that. You don't gotta skimp with these big old size 8 nymphs. And I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna make a nice dubbing body, and I am gonna grab my dubbing brush and just brush this out just a hair. We don't want it to make it super shaggy, none of that. Just enough to kind of make that dubbing really shine through, make a nice shaggy kind of base. And then I'm gonna start off, some people do it together, I do them separately. I do my and then, oh, I'm gonna add in my hackle. So people traditionally will actually hackle this, or they'll add in like a feather, and then kind of like split it out. I use pheasant tail. I love pheasant tail. So I just use a couple strips of pheasant tail, one on each side, probably only about 4 pieces or so. And with these kind of big steelhead copper johns, I go really heavy on how long they are, so I make them really long. Makes kind of a nice little action in the water. It also just looks really nice, I think. So give it a few kind of back and forths. See you, Liam. And then yeah, just give it a few more reps, and then we'll go ahead and just, you can either snap these off. Oh shoot. Alrighty, well that came undone. I'm gonna grab another piece here. So you can either just snap them off or cut them off. I tend, if they're really thick butt ends, I'm gonna cut them off. But a lot of times, especially if I'm doing tails on, you know, things like pheasant tails and stuff, and I am cutting them off, or I am like taking them off, I will just snap them off. But on really thick stuff like this, where you're starting to get into the butt, sometimes cutting them off is what I do. It just depends how clean of a look I want and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut these off. Go ahead and cut this off. Grab those pheasant tail butts a little bit, make sure they're nice and secure. And then from there, I'll do my chartreuse on there. Oh, we're so locked in, bro. We're so locked in. Okay, and then yep, from there, I'll just give this a quick whip finish. And there we have it, guys. Really simple. Pretty quick to tie if you're actually trying to tie them. Like, they're a really quick tie. But there we go. Alrighty, guys. Well, I gotta go pretty soon. I'll do one more fly, assuming you guys want another fly. Usually these flies sell for about, I mean, if I were to like be selling these hand tied, they would probably sell for like, I don't know, probably $4 at least, I would guess, like hand tied flies. In a fly shop, this would be, I have no idea, probably $3, I would guess, $2. Yeah, like you said, Liam, $2 to $3. Assuming they're big. If they're little tiny copper johns, probably like $2. Okay. If you're buying, okay, pounds and dollars, get out of here. I guess we'll do one more fly. We'll do a quick Adams fly because that sounds fun. I'm gonna use a size 14, standard dry fly. I've got MFC right now. Honestly, I prefer Umpqua brand. They're usually a little cheaper, but at times you got to do what you got to do. So we've got a size 14, really good standard size. Take this off, put this on. Do I have a better? There we go. Yeah, this will be fine. I'm using 10/0 here. Okay. Yeah, I know it's pound. It's fine. Pounds and dollars. Basically the same thing. Guys, stop. Basically the same thing, just different currency. They have practically the same actual value. Pound is just a little bit more valuable. That's it. There we go. Alrighty. So we got a size 14. Made it so you could speak it. Okay, guys, lock in. So we've got 10/0 black thread here. This is pretty much my favorite size thread and whatnot. And I'm gonna quickly tie in some pheasant tail. 3 to 4 fibers. Measure it to be about a little bit less than hook length. And I think we'll just do a standard kind of Adams style fly. This isn't a true Adams because a true Adams uses hackle fibers. No comeback to what? Oh, that? Yeah, I don't care, bro, anymore. This is a fly tying stream. Okay, and now I'm gonna go in with some dubbing. Where is my... Got some Adams gray dubbing here, which is the standard. Obviously, you can do it in literally any color. Really doesn't matter. You can use, you can go like a really small, size 18, size 9, or a size 20, something like that, and go with an olive color. You can make like, you can make them like tricos. You can make them like really anything you want. Okay. Oh, I know you're just joking. I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding. I'm joking too. I'm allowed to joke. Just because I'm the one fly tying doesn't mean I can't joke, right? Okay. I'm using pro grade here. I have, this is my, well, I'm gonna be pulling this out too. This is my bronze grade. This pro grade is literally nicer than this bronze grade. It's, I don't know. This is a really nice pro grade. It really should have been a bronze grade. But anyway, I'm just gonna be measuring these up. That's gonna be too big. Oh yeah. The good thing about capes is they got a lot of different feathers on them, but the annoying thing is they're all really freaking short. Okay, so we're gonna start off with our grizzly hackle. Traditionally, they have brown and grizzly hackle on them. I'm gonna be using grizzly. Tie that in. And traditionally the Adams also has a wing on it. I do not tie them with wings. I do not think that wings matter. The wings that they tie on these flies are about this big, and unless I'm tying them for somebody, I don't tie them with wings. If I'm tying them for myself to fish, I don't use wings. I don't think that they do anything, and they increase the complexity of the pattern exponentially. So I personally don't fish wings. If you like the wings, be my guest, fish with the wings. It doesn't matter. I just don't think that they do squat. So, I'll tie this in as well. And now I'll do a half hitch. Pointer, half hitch. Unfortunately, Liam, we can't be saying our ages on here. I'm 18, by the way, because YouTube will ban the crap out of all of us. So, I'm 18, and yeah. Okay. So there is the hackle fly without a wing on it, because that's unnecessary. Grab my arrow point scissors, and we're gonna be very carefully yeah, I don't know how old you are. I'm gonna ignore your before comment because you are clearly 26, right? And yeah, you got to be a little careful because YouTube will be getting mad at you. Okay. It looks better on my side than it does on yours. I'm going to give this thing a whip finish. And there we have it, guys. I might have to be getting out of here. I will be having to get out of here. So, I will be on hopefully very soon. And you guys have a very good day. That is a classic Adams. So there we have it, guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time. Please do subscribe. It really means a lot to me. All the subscribers possible, I will take them. And thank you so much. See you guys.